Hi, everybody. It's us. It's you. It's the shed. It's Buddy. It's a sunny day. We're going to talk about stuff. There's a change of pace, hey? Yeah. Come along. It's going to be fun. Here we go.
Can't wait. We got a lot on the agenda today. I got my new doctor, and I'm his little project, and he's going, let's look at everything happening, and we'll, triage. And so the skin came up, and he said, I see you haven't seen your skin doctor since, checks notes, 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Not since Trump got elected. So he prescribed for me some Enstelar spray,
Can you just get it like
calcipotriol, of course.
dip tank? Can you just have a bathtub full
And then
of
it's got your it's got your topical steroids. You know how much one of those spray bottles costs?
$183.76.
That's about it. 125, 60 grams.
Is that what you pay? Is $125?
That's what I pay. Yeah.
That probably means it's worth about $500.
Right. So I mean, I've got a mom and pop
Pharmacy. Apothecary.
Yeah, I got a mom and pop apothecary.
Yeah, because
just down the street, and they're cheaper than London Drugs. But then I thought, well, I better check, because now I'm paying $125 for a spray bottle. I better check with Costco. And so I did walk up to the window with Costco, and they were pretty good. They were busy, and they said, okay, you need a price check? Yeah. So I got to do 1, 2, 3. And yeah, that stuff's $110 from Costco.
Oh,
120, 125 from Mom and Pop. Yeah. You
could buy a t-shirt while you were there too.
Think of Mom and Pop's children.
Yeah.
It's the way of the world, skin.
So I went to Mom and Pop just to get a different one recently. So I'll stick with Mom and Pop except for the big items.
Yeah.
And that's the thing also, is he has to fax the prescription to Costco pharmacy, right?
Yeah, and it is fun too that they are still stuck on faxing. They actually fax crap back and forth.
Yes, they do, yeah.
I mean, there's probably still pigeons out back in the coop just in case. Fax machine goes down.
Yeah, because some places don't accept fax. They haven't converted yet.
That's right. Jeez.
Skinny. Change doctors.
I'm going to have to change doctors because I've taken to going to the emergency care because I can't wait 2 weeks for the things that come up.
Yeah, when you get a new doctor, they're new to the province usually.
Yeah.
And so my guy, we had some guests come to town on Tuesday, which was when I was supposed to do my appointment. So I just go online, and next thing you know, I'm booked in for Thursday. Yeah, new doctors are generally all excited. They're not that long out of medical school, and it's like, oh boy, he seems to be viewing me as a good project, not oh man, I got another old man. I suppose I have to accept the old man, but
yeah.
My doctor now, you can only text. You can't even email. There's not a website. She's in her own office, so you can just text. So I say, I need a blood requisition. Well, you'll have to make an appointment.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is. Yeah.
Well, just send me the blood thing. It's just for hemoglobin. You'll have to make an appointment.
Yeah. So, and it might not be their choice either. I think it's the provincial standards.
Well, I think they don't necessarily get paid.
Yeah. They got to make a living.
Yeah, and if they get paid for the phone call, right?
Yeah.
And it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I think, this is her morning for phone calls. So she's gone over, and she probably wants to just get rid of me real quick. And that's exactly what she did. I'm sure she said, "What can I do for you?" And I think,
what did you say? You could try harder.
Yeah. Anyway, and she says, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And she said, I see your vitamin D was low last time. And I'm thinking, we've already talked about that. She said, and I thought it was giving me a prescription, but you don't need a prescription for vitamin D. She said, I can't ask for a blood test for vitamin D. That has to come through a specialist, which I thought was...
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's an odd thing to say.
But it is odd.
Not
like
odd
what?
to say. It's odd for the province to require it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also odd to just suddenly decide. So if you sampled 100 old guys, how many of their vitamin D levels would be low, and how many times would that be any kind of meaningful issue? Take a pill.
Well, no, with me it was, because it was very low. And her degree is in diabetes management. Although I went to her for I think, a bone scan issue. Like, my doctor thought it was like osteoporosis or it's on the verge of osteoporosis. So I go to this specialist, and she's a diabetic manager. She looked at my vitamin D, and so I got on this. I got a bottle of vitamin D, and I thought I was supposed to take 3 drops of it. But you're supposed to take 20 drops. So the next time I had a blood test, my vitamin D was way down, and I knew exactly why. I figured it all out. So I opted. But she said, so she's looking at an old Life Labs little form, says, oh, red flag on the vitamin D here. And there's no indication that she's already talked to me about that. Like,
right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that I wish the system... It just had your synopsis of the patient just come up like that.
Right.
Yes. But it doesn't work like that.
But that said, that's on her too. Like I think a good doctor has methods of knowing what they have and how to talk to you about. And they all go, let me see now. They all have to kind of bring it back by looking at the notes. But
I think it is true. I think they can, because, I mentioned I don't go to my doctor because it's inconvenient and way too long a wait time. So I go to these, go to a Emergo or an urgent care thing, and my doctor gets wind of it somehow. Mm-hmm. So they do have access to what is happening in my health life.
Usually they ask you when you show up at any of those places, who's your family?
Yeah, they do.
But that means there's some sort of alert, right?
They get sent any results and notes from those.
Yeah. So they have all that stuff. So they do have the ability to know.
But that's a point-to-point send. Like you got service there. They'll send it over to them. Probably fax it. This is not them having this wonderful profile summary.
I don't know.
But I tell you, I got a profile summary on AnyList, and I swear by that. Because you got your AnyList open, and when they ask you, what are they going to ask you? What medications are you on? Okay. There it is under that category in AnyList. Got all my meds. Okay, well, I see you have a problem with kidney stones, don't you? How long has it been? Down to the kidney stones section. It's just all there, right? Highly recommend it.
Only you, RJ.
Problem with both you guys is not you guys, your situations. Problem with your situations, not you personally. I don't want to make this about you. I want to make it about your behavior. It's not a personal failing
on your parts. It's not that you're idiots. Don't misunderstand. It's not that you're the authors of your own pending demise.
I don't even think I'll go there. No. The problem with your situations is that you have a doctor. And so if your doctors aren't good, I think it's hard for you to apply to get a new doctor, right? Because anytime I put myself on 2 different waiting lists, and one of the key questions is, do you already have a doctor? And the answer is no. But I think when you say, I have a doctor, and then in the comments, but they're lousy, they're just going to, problem patient, I don't want this one. Or maybe the province even, maybe the college of physicians and surgeons says, don't take on a new one. Let's just keep the shitty doctors busy and get,
It's an old boys club thing.
Well, it's like a union too.
And it's the same thing if you say, well, my doctor told me eating raw frogs was the way to go. They will never say, you need to get rid of that doctor. He or she is obviously an idiot. They will always just say, oh, well, that is one treatment. I think we're going to go ahead and put you on antibiotics. They don't ever sell the other doctor down the road, ever.
Well, I've had them say, I think that doctor's wrong.
No, I don't think
but you're right. I mean, they have to be careful about that kind of stuff. I think I just had a rogue hospitalist, the hospital doctor that comes around for the rounds. He was one of those rare guys who's highly opinionated and loves kind of talking it, countering, fighting the man. Turns out he was probably wrong in his opinion.
So maybe it isn't as rare as I think.
I don't think my doctor's a bad doctor.
Right. It's just lately.
Well, it's just, I think it is the system. And that I get pissed off at her but I don't think she's locked in.
I think I'm in the same position. My doctor isn't terrible, but he is very harried most of the time. And I think it's probably pretty hard for him to not wish I would go somewhere else because he knows I don't live locally. He also knows I'm an old guy and this whole business is only going to get more rather than less. And he's my age. He's getting tired. He wants young, fresh, healthy patients.
Encourage him to retire then. You'll be able to get on a waiting list. And there's a whole flood of new doctors coming in right now, so now's the time.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the Canadian medical system, and it is geared. Like I had echocardiogram just 3 days ago, and I'm sitting in front of the Diamond building down at VGH, looking at the other buildings, and I think this whole system is set up for us.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We are older and getting sicker and weaker, and things are breaking and stuff, and it is set up for us. I mean, I sometimes wonder if doctors really don't like their old patients. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's probably easier with younger ones, but their job is to kind of, oh, well, let's manage this one, right?
Yeah,
You know,
I think for me, the impression I often have, and it's probably because I imagine myself in their position. I mean, when I cast my mind back to when I was 40, say, 6 years ago, I find myself really, there's no chance I could have imagined any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I no chance I was really imagining. I tended to have a more negative view of what the state of my health would be in my 50s than it actually was. But still, nevertheless, you can't really imagine at that age. Imagine getting up every day and finding some new weird thing going on that you got to get dealt with. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I'm not being naughty. Why is it? Well, it's because you're getting old. And the guys who are treating you, I believe they do tend to think in the privacy of their minds, look, dude, you're getting old. This stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to make it all go away. So I'm going to give you whatever I think. I'm not saying they don't try to really solve the problem. In fact, in some cases they try way too hard, but I just sort of think they tend to write off a lot of effort they could make against the fact that you're simply old.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. It sounds like you're ascribing all that without evidence.
Yeah, absolutely I am. Yes, that's a fair statement. It's just like KJ said, it's an emotional thing. You start thinking things.
Yeah.
but you just said 40, and with me, I swear it was 60. Like I didn't think it would be. It's like climate change. It's coming on way faster than right. Like I'm thinking, holy shit! Since our last podcast, I've been consumed with things that deal with health. I mean, it's sort of preventive maintenance and stuff like that. But it seems that a lot of my waking hours I'm doing something that I didn't do 7 years ago.
There's always like 6 things going on, right?
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
I don't think I got 6, but I got a couple for sure.
So we did our State of the World a few episodes back. Mm-hmm. And for listeners, it'll maybe be 6 episodes back. I don't really know. But you can just Google wildfire map. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wildfire map. And what you get is NASA's wildfire map.
Oh, nice.
And
yeah.
Yeah, and most of South Africa is burning.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I can't remember who told me that, really.
I certainly have had trouble. I go, BC wildfire, and the site is not terribly friendly to start with, right? Like the government site. And
I went to the one that's in Bowen Ma's email, and you can zoom right in my case, Burnaby, and then you can scroll forward and back to see what their projections for smoke are. That's pretty, it's kind of useful. I'm not sure how accurate it is really at the city level.
Yeah.
But,
no, that is useful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
That is cool.
Yeah, anyway, that map's pretty spectacular. So I put it in the show notes, and I'll put it again in the show notes for today, where you can look at what fires are happening all over the world. It's NASA, and then it's all colorized, right? I suspect it must make it look worse than it is because there's a large portion of Africa that it's all orange. So it makes it look like every square meter or square kilometer is on fire, and I'm sure it's not that, but it's just amazing how much is on fire in the world right now. I always think, Canada's one of the bad ones, maybe US. It's just everywhere, right? South America, all over the place.
And all that's going right into the atmosphere.
It's just a vicious cycle now at this point,
it's
right?
Just snowball.
Yeah.
We're doomed.
But then when the ash falls, I think if the ash gets shoveled under, then it's carbon storage, right?
Nice.
Maybe. Or is ash, the carbon's gone by then?
I think the only way for the ash to go is for us to inhale it, fill our lungs up with it, die and get buried, and then we are carbon sinks.
Yes,
we are carbon sinks.
Yeah.
Hey, should we do some listener mail?
Hey, let's get back to
we should.
listener mail.
Okay, now, about 18 months back, we posted on our site a video of David Peterson that his wife took. And it's a pleasant little video where he's in a shed.
Oh, that was so long,
In New
David.
Brunswick, yeah.
And he's reading. Yeah, and his wife or his partner took it.
Yep.
And then he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
I'd say about 6 months after that. So we put a little thank you to Peter as an honorary shed dog. And so we got a listener mail on that from Towing NYC. So I don't know, if this is yet another one of those spam ones that just randomly grab sites.
Yeah.
But I know maybe we know someone who's in the towing business in New York City.
Nice.
Says,
I like it.
It just says, on So Long, David, I appreciate you sharing this. Which sounded like, because it was kind of a memorial to him, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a mystery. We don't know if that's a spammer or an actual...
Well, that's very cool. I mean, it might be somebody who knew him,
Yeah.
like an out-of-work actor.
Yeah.
Driving a tow truck in New York City. Well, that's kind of cool. And that was
I missed that one.
way more than 18 months, I think.
It was a long, I
It's
don't
more
know.
like 3 years. How long have we been doing this?
5
Really?
in February.
We better figure out our 5-year mark then.
Yeah, because we have a long track record of gala celebrations.
Well, I think 5 years is pretty important.
Maybe it'll match up with the 200th episode.
Jeez, well, yeah, might. Because didn't we start in February of 2018? I thought we did.
I'm sure you could probably just look on the computer right now.
In which case, the 5 came and went, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, Marco is a wiener? Is that...
Yes.
I thought... I looked at it and I thought, what is that a reference to? And so it's... I listened to the episode. It's rather fun.
Yeah.
Marco has no wiener.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I misspelled wiener. And, I did it late at night and I typed in WEINER, right? And it underlined it as misspelled. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And I Googled it and I came up with this one website and it was Merriam-Webster and it goes wiener. And it's basically, you can use that spelling, but it's not generally correct. So it's WIENER. I before E except after C, but I spelled it wrong, WEINER. And it turns out that...
I was just going to say, there's the Illuminati, right? Well, the Ignoranti, we really appreciate you fighting the fight, because if enough people misspell it, it'll become correct, and that'll be great.
Yeah, and I mean, in my search of how to spell it correctly, it turns out that it's the Germans call it Wienerwürstchen. And what that means is a small sausage Viennese. A Vienna person with a small sausage is the way I read it. But it's a small Vienna sausage, and I think they're like poking fun.
Yeah.
And so what do you think the Viennese call them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Frankfurters.
Okay.
Right? So it's one of those situations where the Germans call it a Viennese, Wiener. The Austrians call it a Frankfurter.
And over here, we've been oblivious to this little barb flying back and forth for about
And it's not unlike the term Mongoloid.
Yeah.
The Mongols, apparently they call them Caucasoids.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things, right?
Fascinating.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Not in my tribe, you don't.
That's right. Nancy from New Westminster.
Nancy!
On episode 161, Weather Wardrobe. In that episode, that was when Lee talked about her days as a weather girl.
Right.
And her wardrobe. Anyway, Nancy says, hey dogs, man, time seems to be spinning by faster than I can keep up. I'm 4 episodes behind, but doing my best to keep up. Before aspartame came along, I was a die-hard Pepsi gal. Then I discovered Diet Coke and Coke Zero, which I actually like quite a bit. And then the Soda Stream came along, and I no longer buy pop. Either of you guys had Soda Streams?
I have had it. It never at all seemed worth all of it to me. But
Yeah. I think it's a thing. I think it's going out of favor now. But it was kind of a hipster thing, or you got room in your kitchen, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, you buy one of those.
Yeah, like a battery powered wine opener.
Yeah, and you're going, I can save.
Who needs it?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Or a power carving knife that we all had in the 60s, right?
I still use it. Yeah, I still got one.
And you
from
got to
the
plug it
60s.
into the wall.
Yeah, and it goes. It's awesome. It's really fun to use. I wish I knew how to sharpen it.
But I heard that the Soda Streams, you save a little bit of money on pop, but they really get you on the cost of CO2 cartridges.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So anyway, she says, and then the Soda Stream came along and I no longer buy pop. Okay, once in a blue moon, I'll buy a Diet or Zero Coke, but I love the Soda Stream. I don't use any of those flavors that you can get because I'm trying to keep sugar out of my diet along with aspartame. And good timing, too. It appears that the World Health Organization is issuing a statement that aspartame used in diet sodas will reportedly be listed as possibly carcinogenic to humans. Of course, it doesn't say how much you have to consume, but we are probably better off without it. And finally, I'm sitting here with bated breath, waiting to see your t-shirt design. PJ, how's your progress on that?
Difficult. We did send it out to a number of focus groups for feedback. It's been conflicting. We have like 3 competing designs that are roughly equal in popularity. Well, we can't afford to produce T-shirts in 3 different designs.
Mm-hmm.
We can't. So we're a little stuck. I was going to go coin flip, but I felt that there would be pushback from the board if I selected on the basis of a coin flip.
Go small and subtle. But at the end of the day, if you want to get something done, you got to override. Just do it.
Yes. And listeners, of course, you all know that the true answer is nothing has been done. Know why? Because I'm supposed to be doing it. So I haven't done anything. And Portugal's 2 weeks away.
Captain Bob from Saskatoon says about episode 165, The Time Traveler, in which listeners, Captain Bob himself is the time traveler. He says, it was a great honor to join 3 incredibly gifted confrères in conference. I sound a bit like RJ's, PJ's, and KJ's laugh track, as they are very funny guys. Was I equalized to sound like a goober, or is that my real voice? Just wondering. XO.
Yeah, for future guests, that is what we do. There is a particular setting in Sound Studio. You can increase the bass and you can cap out, or you can just select goober.
It's the goober filter.
It just works like a hot damn.
I believe it's called the goober pass-through. Thanks, Captain Bob. That was one of our favorite ever episodes, just being there talking and listening to it afterwards.
Yeah, it really was. No offense to all our other guests, and no limits on future guests, but that was great.
Lee from Courtney on the same episode. Hi, dogs. It was great to hear Rob from Saskatoon as a guest on your show. Loved his voice.
There you go. So
Hey,
that's
Captain Bob.
nice. That's actually well done.
She's got a thing for goober voices, apparently. She says kind of a combination of Bob and Doug McKenzie with a little Jeff Bridges in the mix.
I thought that was quite good, too.
That's good. And he knew such obscure, well, to me, interesting stuff, like how certain rail cars are pressurized. As a former Saskatoonian myself, I can agree with Rob that Saskatoon is truly a lovely city. Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip didn't write Paris of the Prairies about it for nothing. And if I was ever to live in Saskatchewan again, it's where I'd want to be. But sadly, as Rob noted, there are just so many people who have such extremist yet narrow views about so many things in society. Refugees, racism, LGBTQ, vaccinations, and so on. It's one reason why we have seriously curtailed what used to be our annual visits back each summer. Rob said that many of the folks he worked with are really nice people, but they have such awful views on so many things. I would disagree with him to an extent on that. People who think horrible things about specific groups in society aren't people I'd actually consider nice. And I have little interest in trying to converse with those who consider fuck Trudeau an intelligent point to make. I mean, there's a lot to be said for Lee's point of view there.
Yes. Great note.
Great note, yeah. Anywho, she says, on to a couple of other things from the show. I was just blown away that PJ's daughter's iPhone just booted up and worked after being underwater for 3 weeks.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. It's just amazing. I had no idea that was possible. About 10 years ago, my old iPhone quit working and I took it to the TELUS office here. It was a work phone, and that's who handled our corporate contract. The guy's response was, well, it likely got wet. And I said that it might have had rain on it, but that would have been about the extent of getting wet. And he said, yeah, that could do it. And just as an aside, Lee and others, even the modern Apple products, but definitely the old ones, had a little strip inside them that the moment it got wet, it changed color. And then the moment that they'd see the changed color, they would decline the warranty.
I think you told me that and I forgot all about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had experience with one of my first iPod touches. I decided to rinse it under a sink. And I thought that I'd be missing the
entry ports.
The entry ports. And no, it just shut down and I was done with that one. And Hannah had her iPhone out in the rain in a heavy rainstorm. It just came on all of a sudden and it got wet and it shut down. And she brought it home to our place and we did the bowl of rice. 24 hours later, it just fired right up and it worked fine. Anyway, she says now there's yet one more person who could benefit from listening to the Shed Dogs podcast to find out how things in the world really work.
Yeah, we have the definitive truth here. The other truths you hear from people, questionable. Ours, live and die, baby.
Nice note, Lee. Thank you.
Yeah. Really good.
Captain Bob heads back in time again. New comment on episode 64, Shamba Dogs.
Jeez, that's a while back.
Yeah, that was in which...
That was another great episode, though, I gotta say.
Haley from North Vancouver related her experience at Shambhala.
Yeah.
Which was an awesome episode. Highly recommended, listeners, episode 64. Anyway, Captain Bob says, so much fun. My memory bank is full. Thank you, PJ, RJ, and really, HJ. Nice. KJ gets a little short shrift there.
Yeah.
But HJ for sure, yeah. That'd be Haley J, yes.
Got that one.
Sorry, KJ.
Was I even here?
Well, Bob will send a really heavily apologetic note.
That's right.
Sometime about a year and a half, 2 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Captain Bob from Saskatoon on the second episode, 166, The Portraitification of Captain Bob.
We figured out how to use the portrait mode in an iPhone. That's why that title came to that.
His letter to us has 3 words in it. Worst guest ever.
Just completely, I don't even know what he's talking about. Or I don't think he must really think that. I hope not, because just completely not.
I don't think so.
Funny, though.
This is one of those spam ones. It's from Legado de Rocky.
There you go.
On episode 1, RJ has a chocolate. Very thoughtful blog.
There you go.
Thoughtful.
Thanks, Rocky.
Thoughtful is spelled THOUGHHTFUL. Anyway, thanks a lot, Legado de Rocky. And finally, new comment on episode 167, Marco has no wiener, misspelled.
So that was just posted that just came up yesterday, didn't it?
9:38 a.m. today.
So this
Lee
is
of Courtney.
hot off the presses.
Hi, dogs. Great, fast-paced show. And even though the check-in on the world's state of affairs was not one of your usual chuckle fests, it needs to be done. It's depressing, but we can't just look away. As PJ said, passivity is what's got us in the climate and other messed up areas already. In response to another of PJ's comments that he thought that governments are not doing an adequate job of representing what the people want, I think that really depends. People, generally, are pretty self-focused and say all kinds of things should happen. But when it comes to actually affecting them personally, stopping them from doing something, infringing on their feelings of entitlement, and so on, it tends to shift. And the guy in the recent U.S. Republican candidates debate, Vivek Ramaswamy, who was seen to have been the best, is a rabid climate change denier, and he's very popular, so ... KJ, did you watch the debate?
Oh, no. I started. I recorded it, and then I didn't even get to the highlights afterwards. But I dig the name, and fascinating that he is up in the polls, well, from the debate, but he is also a person of color in the Republican Party. Yeah. I mean, of course, there's Tim Scott is running for president too, but
yeah.
But it's I just find that fascinating in the world.
I do, but I think that social conservatives are absolutely fine with all races one-on-one. you see it all the time, like old grumpy old white men talking to their buddy at work who's of some foreign country and has a strong accent. I see that all the time. I think it's more in the generalization sense that you see.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's the root of some of my best friends are.
Oh, it totally
whatever.
is. Like, absolutely. You're talking to someone of some other color and you're talking about a topic. The next thing you know, you're only thinking about the topic, right?
Yeah.
You got nothing in your mind is racist in the least. You're
Yeah.
just having a good engaged conversation.
But somehow you
Yeah.
can't make the leap.
It's only when you're thinking about all those welfare bums that came over from Mexico. But
Yeah.
you meet someone from Mexico who's, he plays you a little flamenco music or whatever, whatever he does. It's a human being and you're going, this is a cool person, right?
I got to think, though, that the 40% base that is the MAGA base is more racist than not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just surprises me that he's running
Yeah.
and is quite excited about running.
Like racism, it's very simplistic to think, okay, if you're in the 1960s in Alabama and a black person comes up and talks to you and you're a white person, a normal, at the time normal, conservative, you're going to kind of like being, well, boy, you're going to treat them below you. That's true. I think most people are fine with people. And I think they would be fine with even having a spouse if they, the people like that you expect to be racist, like the base, for example, that on a one-to-one basis, they're probably fine. In fact, there was that whole thing about the black guy that went to the KKK. He just went to a meeting and started talking to the head, and they just had a great conversation. They're just chatting, right? Like it's the beliefs are that, black people are lazy. Those are the kind of racist belief they have. Is Thomas here lazy that I'm talking to? That's a whole different thing, like one-on-one. They got to be good friends, by the way. I'm just thinking that if your perception of a racist is somebody who hates black people or indigenous people or a sexist that thinks women are dumb or whatever, I think it's more like as a class, right? Not as individuals. I don't know if is that no great insight?
Yes and no. I think in those situations, that person of color is automatically facing an obstacle in that conversation, that one-on-one conversation. They automatically, even in that one-on-one contest, they start out behind the 8 ball and then they prove themselves. So, okay, you're one of the good ones.
That's
right?
got to be true, what you're saying, if people have a general belief as a whole that on average, let's say black people are lazy is their thing, right?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
then if they're conversing with a black person about something, especially if it's transactional, like they're behind a counter or something and they're already coming in with a bad attitude in general. Yeah, that's true.
But it allows you to retain your belief that in general, this guy's an exception, and I won't talk to many more guys like this, maybe 3 in the next year. So I can preserve my belief that guys like this, that is, this person of that color, are lazy, are untrustworthy, or whatever, right? They just never seem to make the leap. The leap to generalize seems to only be negative. It doesn't seem to be positive, right?
No, that's not true. A lot of people will say Chinese people are smart. So there's some generalizations.
Good point. That's a pretty good answer, actually.
Yeah. Part of it's because some of my best friends are the left wing, the far left wing people really react to that. They hate it. Oh, that's so racist. What are you talking about?
No, it isn't. It's a defense of racism.
Yeah, but it's a good thing to say, right?
Yeah, it's a defense of racism.
That tells me that some of your best friends are X, tells me that you're definitely dealing with them as humans. Your best friends you're dealing with as humans completely. Like you're not sitting there thinking, I like this guy, if only he wasn't black. It's just not happening, right?
You probably are saying, I like this guy, but I wish he was a little more active. Kind of lazy.
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so.
I don't know either.
Because I'm thinking about myself, I guess, and I have quite the probability to be conservative socially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, and I'm just thinking about how you'll have a whole transaction conversation, and you walk away, you go, oh, yeah, that woman was Indian and was a woman.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't like on your mind at all throughout the whole thing, right? Oh, man, don't get me started about racialized. You've heard that term, right?
I've heard it, but now that you challenge me, sort of, I don't really think I know what it means.
Well, I think I know what it's meant to mean.
What does it? What?
It's somehow racialized means they've had something done to them. Like it's meant to mean just what we used to call an ethnic person or a minority or a person of race, a person of color.
Or
they're racialized, and so it's used in mainstream news services. This is part of the whole kind of.
And how is it used?
It's anytime you're talking about someone of race, they'll say a racialized person.
So what is that? Sounds like you had an ingredient added. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like they've had something done to them. It's a little reminder, right?
Are you sure, or is it somebody who has gone from, let's say, emulating white person behaviors to really leaning heavily into their ethnicity and cultural background? Like somebody who has become sensitized to issues that their ethnic group is struggling with and decides that they are going to identify much more openly and strongly as part of that group. Are they what's called racialized? I really
that could be. You could be right.
Just don't know what the hell.
But I've seen it in contexts that seem to mean just the race.
Yeah, in other words,
just not white.
Yeah.
Racialized would mean not white in that context, but because these words are, there's no central encyclopedia definitive that everyone uses.
Yeah.
They morph anyway, and someone might just casually use it as a term to mean non-white, whereas it might actually mean what you were saying. Am I only halfway through this letter? Oh, I think I'm almost done here. RJ mentioned having been on a walk along the West Dike in Richmond and mulling about flood insurance for people living there. Friends of ours live there right now, and their insurance does not cover overland flooding, which of course is exactly what the flooding from the rising waters would be. I think it's pretty tough to get earthquake insurance in Richmond for the flood component. Lee continues. PJ's going to Portugal. Excellent. 6 friends of ours, 3 different couples, have all been there in the past year. All different trips, one involving kayaking from Porto to somewhere, and another involving lots of food and wine and sightseeing. They all just loved it, so I'll bet you will too. And interestingly, it's crazily easy for a foreigner, like we Canadians, to buy a place there and just move.
Yeah.
So check those real estate listings while you're there, PJ.
So listeners, you can bet I will be checking those because we're going to all kinds of small little, you start thinking, wonder what it would cost to buy a house in this little hamlet here.
Yeah.
And I will be looking. I was very interested to read that note.
Yeah, everybody who goes to Portugal thinks it's an amazing place.
Yeah. And I got to say, I just have not been, because I'm so ignorant about really basically Portugal. If you talk about Germany or Italy.
If you haven't been there, you're ignorant, except for maybe that Columbus got funded out of there.
Yeah, well, Vasco da Gama.
Have you been boning up on your Portuguese?
I sure have.
Nice.
Bom dia. Oi, bom dia.
Good day?
Yeah, it means, hey, good day. Okay. And they go obrigado. It's pretty similar to
Questo
the other.
Obrigado, tanta mucho que can eat at carousel. Yeah, I know Portuguese.
What does that even mean?
That's all from the Beatles album.
Oh.
And they just
threw a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've been doing the Duolingo basic Portuguese, but it's just basically, it's really similar. Like milk is leite, beer is cerveza, water is agua. Like they're all
Spanish and Portuguese very similar, but key differences as well, right?
Pronunciation's quite different, and there are some structural differences, I think.
Do they lisp their S's like the Castilians?
No, they don't.
And when you're in a big group like that, I guess you have a couple days at either end where you're just being a tourist.
Yeah, we'll do 5 days at the Lisbon end, Lisbon to Porto, take a train.
Yeah.
And 6 days at the other end, we're going to rent a car, drive around. We'll go see.
That'll be great.
At Sangra's Lighthouse.
You and Dale?
Me and Dale. Dale of North Vancouver, not a listener.
Yeah, you guys have had good luck on your excursions, like when you went to Germany and stuff like that. And that is listener mail.
And thanks, listeners. Terrific mail. So, listeners, KJ's shown us his progress on his abstract art project that we mentioned possibly several episodes ago. We put a video in it at the beginning of the Marco Has No Wiener episode. And here now we get to see his progress to date.
Oh, this is a new one. Oh, my goodness. Nice.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Huh?
Now,
That's
that is lovely.
pretty good.
What point are we at?
We're getting close.
90%?
Perhaps.
In projects, they say that the last 10% takes about the same time as the first 90.
Well, perhaps. I mean,
I'm dying to see. We just talked about how far along it is towards completion.
Okay.
I'm dying to see a compare with the model.
This is awesome, KJ, because this is the first time that I realized it's not abstract art.
It looks abstract
Wow.
to me.
Well, it's impressionist / abstract, but I didn't realize there's
it?
a lake there. There's a sky. There's a sun. There's the sun. You can see the sun there. You can see the clouds. You can see the field in front of the lake. KJ,
What's fun about this
come
is
on.
I'm dying here. I'm dying
Come
here.
on. Gritting
That
his
is a
teeth.
river. Look at that. And there's the industrial stuff on the other side of the river. And there's a little island there.
Is that Napoleon?
There's, you
Is he
guys,
commanding an army
I want
marching
you to
across
look-
Europe in there?
look at the 25% markup from the bottom. That is a river. I'm telling you.
You been sleeping well lately, RJ?
I've been hanging out down by the Fraser. Skin.
I bet. And it appears to have made an impression.
That's right. And you see that one sun up there, right? Peeking through.
Well,
Okay, KJ, tell me how I'm wrong.
I don't know if you remember, but in the video that you posted on Marco Has No Wiener,
Sorry, Marco, wherever you are. Not a listener.
there's a little stretch in that time lapse where I go da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da,
Yes.
and that's right here. This little
Okay.
line here.
Nice.
And if you look at that point, if you look at that, it looks like trees on the other side of a lake,
Okay.
a la Bob Ross. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And my whole MO on this little stretch was to obliterate that, to get that whole idea off the canvas.
Okay.
So
Well, it looks industrial now.
I scunched the trees, but I don't
You don't want that to be a river.
want that.
I am so sorry. How about the original artist?
Did I send? I've sent you the
Yeah,
picture.
but I haven't looked at it since. And
I don't think you get any. I don't think you get water.
But what do artists always like to say?
I've been the beholder.
Yeah, or you know, whenever I'm musicians, what do you mean by that? Well, it's
If that's
what do you think it means?
Yeah, if that's what you're seeing, then that's what it is.
Like, yeah, aren't you? You're not that guy. You're going, no, I want you to realize what I'm painting here.
Then do I ask myself, have I failed? Have I failed to?
I'm so sorry.
No, not at all.
All those
it's
hours.
a challenge.
All those hours, and RJ just comes in and squishes it.
Here's what I would think if I, not what I would think, but what most people would think is if RJ thinks it's one thing and it's not, then it's probably I'm happy with it. Because he's got such a kind of his mind zags when everybody else zags.
So I'll stop being an ass and just say, I saw all the stuff you're talking about. It is
Okay.
you can see that, but that is not what struck my eye. I didn't immediately think, oh, there's a picture of a sunset over a lake with trees. Not even close.
Look at those
I had
waves
none of
going
that
across.
until you started doing it.
Look at those little rocks sticking up.
And so
from the water.
then I started thinking back to my remarks, my cynical remarks. We talked about this before when I asked KJ. I didn't know when I said it that he was doing a copy of a thing, but I asked him, have you already worked up the spiel that imparts all kinds of crazy deep meaning to all of this stuff,
That's right.
regardless of anything? Instead, you did it. So he should be thanking you rather than
Sorry,
feeling
is this
all-
the sun
Yeah,
you're referring to?
that is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Listeners will be posting this picture. If we can figure out how to do a survey, I'd love to do one. We want to hear from you.
Oh, but the water's
Is this
polluted.
a portrait of a river or not?
The water's polluted?
Yeah, because he's already put once you can't unsee it, right? So you need to have listeners look at the picture and think whatever thoughts they're going to think before they hear your thoughts.
I got to say it's lovely, though. I really
Well,
like
it's
it.
a great piece of work. I mean, I would like to review the original because the goal here was to recreate an original, right?
Is it still is it still the goal?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And Susan was the one who commissioned this piece of
Yep.
work?
I've yet to see any upfront payment.
Yeah, you might want to collect before you do the reveal there, just in case.
And I know we talked about this, but I love how you painted right around the side of the canvas. Does it?
I'm getting there.
Yeah, but so there's some stuff there, yeah.
Like skinny.
Way more than I could do. That.
And it's a creamsicle orange. I just love that color.
And I'll even go further. Like, you've heard me just go on and on about abstract art. Doesn't mean I dislike it all. It means I dislike the creation of a false narrative of what the hell it's supposed to be.
Right. Would you say
That's good, though. I like it.
Would you say that your perspective on art has changed in the last 5 to 10 years in general?
No, I would say not.
Okay.
But I like that because it's just visually interesting. You can imagine all kinds of stuff that may or may not really be present there or intentional there. And to me, that's what abstract art is about. It is the eye of the beholder. It is the perception of the individual. But that very fact goes against the idea that it can be worth millions and millions of dollars, in my mind at least.
I don't know. I was looking at a Picasso and it was very abstract and kind of weird and everything. And then you read the fine print and it's based on an existing painting from, 1870 or something. And you look at that existing painting and it's one of those classic old paintings from the late 1800s that's highly craftsman, very precise, beautiful colors, trees, a couple lying languorously on the grass, maybe a picnic basket, all that kind of detail.
Yeah.
And you look back at the Picasso and it's actually all there.
Yeah.
You go, oh. And when he painted it, a lot of people, that painting was probably famous.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would have gone, oh, okay, that's...
Yeah. See, and that is cool to me. That to me is cooler because that's like a cover of a song, right? You can still recognize the song, but it's unique. The cover is unique and personalized to that artist. So that's the pitch you make. If she feels this is not faithful to the original, you say it's a cover.
Well, I'm going to say some viewers even brought up Picasso when they saw it.
There you go. Yeah. Excellent.
Some dogs.
Excellent.
Some dogs.
That's fun. Nice one.
All right. Excellent.
And here we are at the end. Wasn't that kind of a nice soft landing to get you here? You didn't get your neck broken by a sudden segue from just chatting along a friendly way to it's over. We think about you out there. We're on your side. We're on your team. That's why you listen to us, because we think about you all the time. We hope you're thinking about us, but not that much. We hope you're having fun. We hope this episode was fun, because once again, we enjoyed ourselves. And more than anything, we hope you're taking care of yourselves and that we hear from you again. Thanks. See ya.